Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. So this is breaking. Canada will postpone the go live for ISO 20022 messaging on their system, which is called Lynx, until March 2023 in alignment with Swift's revised implementation date. So, I mean, considering the timelines have now changed, some people just coming out here like Bubba Smith saying, I figured this would happen. I just don't trust their actual timelines. DBS NCDS down here saying, it seems more official now that more countries are affirming. So just the other day, we talked a little bit about Swift changing the timeline, shifting it from November 2022 to March of 2023. Here's the official update. Over the past week, Payments Canada has been working closely with Lynx participants, our partners, IBM and Nexi, and the Bank of Canada to determine the path forward should Swift decide to delay the global implementation of ISO 20022. On October the 27th, Swift officially announced their decision to reschedule from November 2022 to March 2023. As noted in the announcement, the decision was driven by the need to align and start the global ISO 20022 migration for CBPR+, with ECB's updated timetable, so also coordinating with the European Central Bank on this to ease implementation. Swift was clear that any additional delay beyond March 23 will not be considered. Changes to Swift's plans implementation timing will not impact our timeline for delivery of the technical solution for Lynx Release 2, but it will impact our go-live date. While Payments Canada and Lynx participants are ready to deliver in November, we have the technical agility to accommodate a delay from Swift. So, looks like Payments Canada was all set up to do this, but since Swift needs more time, they are going to collaborate and support their need for an extension. It seriously does get me wondering how much of this new transformation of a financial structure is reliant on everybody, quote unquote, flipping the switch all at once. Otherwise, why wouldn't some countries, start to implement it while other countries and other organizations decided, we need more time, let's implement it a little later. I guess Swift is an important body. They're kind of the, central nervous system to this whole thing. So I can see why they want to align with Swift. Thought I'd bring that to you guys just as a point of interest. Meanwhile, the Tracker 94 here posted this: the West will transition to a decentralized financial system. This coming from Nayib Bukele, president of El Salvador, who did say Bitcoin is legal tender, starting adopted Bitcoin for payments in El Salvador in September of 21. And his projection, guys, is that the world is so messed up that people are going to reject the new financial system. They're going to reject, what we've been seeing here, this whole migration, and they are going to jump on board with something different. Now, I get his point. I don't think everybody is going to reject it, but I can see holdouts and I can see where people will be fed up. I can see where people are already stressed about their finances, already stressed about things like inflation, making prices of gasoline and groceries, for example, go up. Everyday needs for people who, just need to live their lives and provide a better future for their family. So I can see his point here. The West will transition to a decentralized financial system. If not officially, maybe unofficially. The Bitcoin bullish president of El Salvador has predicted that the central banking model of today's Western economies will eventually give way to a more trustworthy decentralized system. In an interview with Tucker Carlson that aired on Tuesday, Bukele criticized both the Federal Reserve and the media's reaction to his country's Bitcoin adoption. During the interview, he argued that the Federal Reserve's capacity to print money is a moral crime as it devalues the currency and robs its citizens of its savings. And here's a quote: "The concept of savings has been destroyed," he said. "It doesn't make any sense to save money anymore. If you saved $50,000 in the 80s, then you have been robbed of 90% of your money by now." So just giving you kind of painting a picture of how inflation is really deteriorating people's savings. As of September, annual CPI inflation in the U.S. was running nearly 40-year highs at 8.2%, while the Federal Reserve has been tightening interest rates throughout the year. To help rein in soaring prices, certain groups are already pressuring the central bank to reverse course before it triggers a global recession. So his point here, and he mentions it down here, I was going to say, people are waking up to this situation. The harms of inflation, obviously, the fact that people just want control of their finances. And this is why we are seeing a global shift, guys. This is why this kind of thing is happening in Brazil, for example. Brazil, this is absolutely epic. This is a revolution. So if you guys didn't know, there are protests going on in Brazil because of the prime minister or the president that was just elected. Here's another clip here. Brazilian military forces arrive in Rio de Janeiro following protests over the legitimacy of the country's presidential election. So Brazil is standing up, going to the streets and protesting this. And guys, we're seeing this more and more around the world because of the situation that our governments have put us in. More on Bukele's thoughts here. Okay, though he expects the BRICS countries to start their own economic system, he does not think Westerners will onboard it due to Russia's involvement. So there's the socio-political aspect as well. There's the war with Russia and Ukraine. Of course, we know the West is supporting Ukraine, and Russia's got its own supporters, namely countries that it does a lot of business with. Recently, I just did a video speaking about Russia, adding more legitimacy to this idea that they could be examining the XRP ledger. We found a new document, and coupled with some older information, I decided to update that video. So I will link it up here in the top right-hand corner for you guys if you guys didn't catch that video. Rather, the West will seek alternates that are more independent and uncensored while being totally decentralized. And then he goes on a little bit about embracing Bitcoin. El Salvador became the first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender last year, a cryptocurrency renowned for meeting the decentralized and uncensorable criteria that Bukele describes. Bukele said that adopting Bitcoin ahead of other countries has brought El Salvador many second-order benefits. This include a nearly doubled number of tourists, documentaries, private investments, and a rebranding from its prior reputation of being a crime-prone country. So this has really changed people's perception of El Salvador. Slowly but surely, I mean, more tourists are going to El Salvador, for example, because they know they can utilize their Bitcoin and pay for things there. And if you think about it, in the last bull run, if you made 1,000% on your Bitcoin and you invested $1,000, let's say, times 1,000%, you would have profited $10,000. So now you have $10,000 to go on vacation from a $1,000 investment. Sounds like a pretty affordable vacation option if you did indeed buy the Bitcoin at the right time and are planning on using it to spend over there. Just another quick example here, guys, of how owning cryptocurrency in the future, especially if countries start accepting cryptocurrency for payments, is really going to change commerce. It's going to affect the economy, how many more people can contribute to the economy, even if inflation goes crazy. So, I've talked about this idea, and I'll use Bitcoin in this example just because we were talking about Bitcoin. If you purchase your cryptocurrency, let's say you bought Bitcoin right now, $20,000. And what we're hoping in the future is that Bitcoin price obviously is going to go up. So let me just throw Fibonacci on here real quickly, just to give you guys an example. Let's say you cash out your Bitcoin up here, $235,000. Let's just say this is 5 years in the future, or even 10 years in the future. It doesn't really matter. The appreciation you would have made on your Bitcoin is going to actually hedge against inflation, okay? So in this case, your Bitcoin would go up 1,078%. And even if you just calculate, okay, your quantity of Bitcoin doesn't really matter in this case. But if you take 235,363 divided by, let's say you bought it at 20,054, those are the numbers that I just kind of plotted on the chart. That means that you would have made 11.736 times on your money. So you can see where countries like El Salvador are doing well when it comes to tourism, because the Bitcoin that you bought today is going to give you 11.736 times more buying power at that future date. So now, for example, if you're buying something worth $100 in the future, you divide that by 11.736 times, you are only paying $8.52 in today's dollars. So now maybe you can see why Nayib Bukele is saying decentralized finance, cryptocurrencies as payments is really going to be the future if people get on board now and companies start accepting cryptocurrency as a viable mean of payments. So, this is part of the magic of cryptocurrency gains and how more people will be able to enrich their lives because of cryptocurrency. I also noticed this, guys, from Gold Ventures, okay? Remember when we were talking about the repricing of gold? Well, the Dutch government openly discussing canceling debt by, guess how, revaluation of the gold price. Using the GRA to cover losses doesn't require selling gold, it requires changing the accounting rules. So here's what they're saying. Governor of the Dutch Central Bank stated that gold reevaluation accounts ensured the solvency of his central bank. In an interview on television about prospective losses, the significance of this statement that if any European central bank will cover losses by using its gold revaluation account in full, the ECB has put a floor under the gold price. And if more losses need to be covered than the current gold revaluation accounts of European central banks allow, the ECB will need to revalue gold. This goes on even more. I will link the full article in the description for you guys. Let me just skip down here. The gold revaluation account as a solvency backstop. So The GRA is basically an accounting item that records the unrealized gains of the central bank's gold. Because most of Europeans' monetary gold was accumulated during Bretton Woods at $35 an ounce, the respective GRAs are substantial. Monetary gold in the euro system is marked to market, and the gold price today is much higher than $35. Below is a simplified balance sheet of the central bank. On the asset side, there are international reserves, gold and foreign exchanges, a bond portfolio, and discount loans to commercial banks. On the liability side, there's a monetary base, reserves and currency, a deposit account for the government, a GRA, and equity. I guess the bigger point, though, here is that they are seriously considering this revaluation model. Some argue that gold has seriously been undervalued over, decades and decades. Right now, it's trading at about $1,616 per ounce. That is the USD price. But anyway, found this interesting. We'll leave this article in the description if you guys are interested. Now, at the same time, guys, this is also what's happening in Europe. On the same day, France, Switzerland, and Singapore announced DeFi. So Pendu Mohani, Chief FinTech Officer at the MAS, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, and board member of Mojaloop, just announced this. So this has to do with live tests, digital asset trading under Project Guardian. We know the Monetary Authority of Singapore does have a Ripple connection. They're talking about wading through the decentralized finance world with live tests of trading digital assets across liquidity pools and platforms. They're dubbing this pilot Project Guardian. What took place was the buying and selling of tokenized Singapore government securities, Singapore dollars, Japanese government bonds, and Japanese yen. It was carried out by lenders DBS Bank and JP Morgan. DBS Bank also connected to Ripple, as well as SBI Digital Asset Holdings. Of course, we know their relationship with Ripple, which is part of the Japanese financial services group SBI. So the MAS's pilot also simulated the buying and selling of tokenized government bonds. The transactions conducted on Project Guardian's public blockchain use smart contracts to cut out financial intermediaries, unlike traditional trade in over-the-counter markets. So guys, an interesting connection here brought to us by T-Hole Betic. And then he points this out, all right? Mohanty, he is the Chief FinTech Officer at the MAS, noted with the appropriate guardrails in place. Digital assets and DeFi have the potential to transform capital markets and make global financial networks more efficient and integrated. Also a board member of Mojaloop. That is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation project, which we know Ripple is a partner of as well. And 3 other Ripple interledger partnerships here too, one being SBI, as I'd mentioned. T-Hole Betic also mentions HSBC, okay, not confirmed but long suspected. And just highlighting this, HSBC on DLT technology, in which it mentioned Ripple, stated DLT can streamline end-to-end value transfers, reducing costs, operational risks, and settlement periods. For example, Ripple's XRP ledger provides real-time cross-border settlements using tokens that represent central bank digital currencies. So that was a statement by HSBC. And as you guys can see here, just from the article that I previously mentioned, the second will have HSBC, UOB, and Market Node work together to enable native digital issuance of wealth management products, which makes it for faster and more accessible for investors. So interesting connections there happening in Europe at the same time that France, Switzerland, and Singapore announced their DeFi pilot. All 3 of these countries are rumored to be working with Ripple. I think there are confirmed connections with Switzerland and Singapore. And the Bank of France, I think, was discussing RippleNet technology in terms of a potential option. So rumored when it comes to France, but I do believe, I know for sure Singapore is confirmed, and Switzerland, I'm pretty sure they're confirmed as well. Anyway, huge news there. Wanted to thank T-Hole Betic for posting that. We also got this, guys, from Matthew Lany. This has to do with Deloitte and how they're collaborating with AWS to put enterprise-class banking solutions in the hands of customers. And let's not forget, Deloitte is partnered with a fintech company that is XRP-enabled. That would be the Temenos T24 protocol. So some key takeaways here, guys. Deloitte announces multi-year collaboration with AWS to co-innovate and engineer solutions that help institutions expedite the launch of digital banking services and modernize their legacy core banking stacks. Offering combines Deloitte Converge Prosperity Banking Suite solution and multiple AWS services. With the solution, Western Union launched the state-of-the-art digital banking platform in Germany, Romania, and Poland in under a year. Also, Deloitte research highlights the number of customers that are using digital banking channels, and that's now more than pre-pandemic levels. So that is very big news. Note down here how the momentum is building, okay? As banking preferences among customers shift to digital channels, banks are continuing to build on digital transformations accelerated by the pandemic. According to Deloitte, a survey that they did, building on the digital banking momentum, 1/3 of respondents agreed that they are using digital banking channels much more now compared to pre-pandemic days. through this collaboration with Deloitte and AWS, banks will be able to innovate quickly and offer more personalized digital banking capabilities that customers have increasingly come to expect. So, just kind of goes along the lines of what I was saying the other day. These banks now wanting to integrate with mobile apps, to move away from that traditional system, gear us toward a new financial system, and it's mostly targeting millennials and Gen Z now. This is how the younger generations are moving money. So, it all kind of fits in with this narrative. It is unfortunate, however, that it is on the backdrop of a broken economy, and it almost seems as though those responsible are not taking charge. So what does this mean for you? Well, of course, holding the cryptocurrencies that solve problems are definitely going to be more valuable in the future, and maybe we should be paying attention to more of those coins like the V-chains of the world that are going to help with supply chain management issues, guys. Howard Moon here at HowardMoon589 tweeted this out, and it was retweeted out by Fojack. The chain is breaking. Okay, and he tweeted this out just yesterday, November the 2nd, 2022. I don't know if you guys remember, but just the other day, Donald Trump on his Truth Social network, I guess that's where he is now that he's not on Twitter anymore, posted this. Okay, 2 catastrophic things are about to happen to our supply chain in November. And an image of a paperclip holding the supply chain together. The supply chain crunch never got much better after 2020. Looking at what's coming over the next month, it just might get a lot worse too. So keeping along that same theme of the supply chain and supply chain issues. Now, the Tracker 94 also brought this up. I don't know how long you guys have been in the XRP community, but if you've been here since 2019, you probably remember the Ripple Riddler. And the Tracker 94 says, just watch the Ripple Riddler video again. Supply chain breaks, and then the X rises in the next frame. Wow. Guys, we are closer. We are almost there. I have a clip of the video here, guys. Here are just some screen grabs of the video, but I will link the Ripple Riddler video in the description for you if you want to watch the video. Here it is, a few seconds here, going through the vortex, and then the chain breaks, and then there you have it, the XRP logo in and amongst all the fireworks there. So, this was posted in 2019. It makes me wonder, but if you do follow guys like Martin Armstrong, I can see how predictions like these could have been made. We already know that there are supply chain issues. There have been for over a year now. The bigger question is the Ripple Riddler video and that chain breaking back in 2019, followed by the XRP logo. Not only that, guys, we have Jim Rickards, who just published a book. This coming from Jim Rickards on Twitter. If you think the supply chain crisis is over, guess again. We have a looming rail strike, diesel fuel shortage, Brazil riots, as I showed you earlier, major food, and they're a major food exporter, lights out in the Ukraine, and Germans will freeze. If you want to understand what's behind it, here is the book. And then he links an Amazon link here to his book. So, all things coming to a head, a planned economic collapse to usher in a new financial system. Although I think they thought they would have all this implemented by November of 2022. Looks like we've bought ourselves a few months, guys. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.